Hey everybody, NFL in London podcast. We're getting into week 12 now. Week 12 before we hit into the Thanksgiving turkey bowl games. But we're going to
Oh
talk about
yeah.
first. Yeah, lots of games coming up on Thursday. There are also a few events going on in London. A couple of places that are putting some events on that we'll be putting up on our website. You can check those out as well. Before we get into our week 12 games, let's talk about that Thursday night game as the Bills and the Texans. Ryan and I both had the Texans to cover this one, but neither of us had the Texans to win, and neither of us predicted 8 sacks. Holy macaroni.
Yeah.
How are you feeling watching this game as a Bills fan?
Listen, there's nothing first, before you get to the game, there's nothing worse than waking up at 6 a.m. This is the problem with the late games in Britain. Waking up at 6 a.m. on a Friday and having to start your day with your team just getting their ass kicked. It is just such a bad way to start a Friday, to start a weekend. Is you just get up, you're tired, you're already miserable because at 6 a.m. my kids are already awake and I'm already tired. And I'm just going to sit there like this the whole time watching that game. Watching Josh Allen just get murdered back there. This team's a mess. I mean, this is just what happens when you whiff at draft picks for so long. You know, you kind of saw it with the Patriots. It kind of came back. You know, the Patriots were always picking, 30th, 31st, 32nd. And then eventually you miss 3-4 years in a row in your first round, second round picks, your team starts getting a bit thin and a bit old. And that's kind of what the Bills are. They lost like another 3 guys to injury. And to be fair, I don't even think the defense was the problem. They stepped up. They gave Josh Allen a million chances to win. This team has no receivers. This team has no way to move the ball at all. And every team just kind of mocks the Bills. They're just like, all right, we're just going to play man against your receivers. And we don't even need to. They didn't even need to even blitz. It was just 4 on. They were just killing them. It was bad to watch. And I think honestly, I look at the Bills' schedule. Joe Burrow coming back. I see a way they don't even make the playoffs. To be honest with you, I think they could lose to. I'll tell you what I'm not thankful for is this feeling in my body that I feel right now on Thursday. Yeah. But honestly, if you think about it, they could lose to Pittsburgh next week. You think the offense that was out there could lose to Pittsburgh? They got Joe Burrow coming up. They got to play Patriots again. They got to play the Eagles. I mean, this is going to be Josh Allen's going to have to literally will this team to the finish line. And he himself was bad. I'm not going to dismiss how he played. He threw multiple interceptions, 3 turnovers, 3 games in a row. The Bills, which is something that they almost never did last year. And this is just coming back to bite them right now. And I don't see it getting any better. It was grim.
Hypothetical, though. So if you do say that, and say the Bills do not make the playoffs, is the onus on McDermott or who takes the blame in this regard when it's the final year at Highmark? They're going into a new stadium next year. They want to obviously go out in a high like this. So who then, the finger pointing, because, you got teams like the Chiefs who are trying to rally for the playoffs and the Bills who are watching sort of their fortune fall apart. Who is responsible?
I mean, a lot of it falls on Brandon Beane, the GM. I think Sean McDermott, all things considering, the fact that he can't get the offense right no matter what he does ever since Brian Daboll left. They've just been, Ken Dorsey, now Joe Brady. He's going to be gone, Joe Brady. So he's got to get someone else again. And it can't just be some underling from him that he's been nursing. They got to go and get like a dude, like a guy who's almost going to be his own coach. And just Sean McDermott needs to also get out of his defense, this same defense that they've had for years. Hasn't been able to stop the run in 5 years. Every year it's the same about the Bills. Like they're small and then teams can run on them. And that's kind of the way they play football. And it's a bad way to play football. And they're getting exposed. And when they get to the playoffs, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, if they get in, there's going to be some big dogs running in the snow, and I don't see any way this tiny Buffalo defense stops anybody in the playoffs. So I think if it were me, I would get rid of them both. I think you need to kind of new stadium, fresh start. This is Josh Allen's last chance of a couple of years. You only got about 5 more years left of this guy, right? Let's not waste that. Yeah. You've already had nine chances with him. How many more do you need? Is my thing. So if it were me, I would fire them both at the end of the year, or at least the coach, because I think you need fresh ideas in this building, because it feels like everyone just knows what the Bills are going to do now, and they haven't been able to adjust.
Yeah, and as you said, they got the Steelers next week, so it's going to be, obviously they've got 10 days to sort of recover from this one, get themselves healthy. Let us get into the Week 12 games though first, and we will start with that Steelers game because they're playing the Bears this week, and Aaron Rodgers historically has I own you, which is so cute. But not as a Bears fan now. We're not really liking it. Now, Injuries galore across the linebackers. We've lost 3 of the linebackers across the Bears, but the Steelers have also lost a few linebackers. Steelers 6-4. The Bears, a division leading 7-3, 2.5-point favorites and a 45-point over under. It is in Chicago. Aaron Rodgers coming back, but again, everyone's depleted. They're coming off a big win last week. Chicago coming off a tight win against the Giants last week. What do you think about my Bears at home with the injury bug plaguing everybody?
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? I don't know how healthy Rodgers is. From the way it looked last week, it looked like Mason Rudolph was going to start. I don't think this is the same Aaron Rodgers that owned the Bears from years ago. I just can't imagine. I think he's hurt more than he's saying, and I think he wants to tough it out because it is the Bears, and I think it's going to be to his detriment. I think the Bears are going to be able to win this. I actually think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be 23-20 Bears. I just think, again, I want to see Caleb going up against a good defense, Jalen Ramsey, so it's going to be, tough corners on that team, and I want to see him get some touchdowns. Like, it's in too many games where he's had 0 touchdowns this season, and I want to see him kind of getting into December. This is where you kind of gotta get into more of a rhythm. The Bears are stacking wins, which is great, especially with the division the way it is. You got to keep winning. But I think they're gonna win, but I think it's gonna be very close. And I think Rodgers is gonna throw a couple picks. He's hurt, but he's being all Mr. Tough Guy. I own the Bears. I think the Bears at home are going to be ready to come at him, because he's going to want to get rid of it. If he's hurt, he will definitely, you blitz him, he's just going to chuck it quick. And I think that's what you want from him.
Yeah, and when you look at the Bears, I mean, we are sort of the interception leaders, across the team going into the NFL. So, I mean, there is that where there's going to be some pressure in the secondary coming up. I do worry about the linebackers and, that the guys that we've got going in have only played like 50 snaps in total together. So that's a bit worrisome, but hopefully the practice going. I hope for the home field advantage. I hope the cold weather messes with his wrist, and we'll see. It's one thing to hurt your wrist when you're 26, is another one to hurt it when you're 41. So I've got the Bears to win, but I think it's going to be a closer game to you. So I've got it 28-26. Points being scored in this one. I'm hoping Adunze has a good game. He was looking like some flourishes at the start of the season, but not really.
Yeah, he's really
lately.
cooled off, and his dad's not too happy about it either. His dad's not too happy.
Yeah, well, that's a great thing about social media. Our parents can go on it and fight our fights for us. So, yeah, I've got a tight game, but hopefully the Bears can then continue leading the division by going to 8-3. Another game that's a big point spread in this one, as the New York Jets are starting Tyrod Taylor. They're 2-8, heading into Baltimore. Baltimore 5-5. 13.5-point favorites for the Ravens. 44.5 is the over/under in this one. It's a big spread for Lamar. The defense, as we've seen last week, is starting to come together for the Ravens. They're starting to get some healthy guys together. And the Jets have traded away a lot of people. And Justin Fields, who even knows what's going to happen with him, but he's going to be riding the pines in this one. Heading into Baltimore, the weather should be a little bit chilly, but the Jets are used to it. How do you like Baltimore at home? Do you think this is almost 2 touchdowns? Is that a bit too much?
I mean, the problem is Lamar doesn't look healthy. He's, if he doesn't have an illness, he has ankles. He's got something. I think something now. He's just been banged up a bit on the injury list this week. So, what Lamar are you going to get? You're going to get, since he's kind of come back from injury, he hasn't really flourished. I think he had the one good game against Miami, but other than that, he was really bad last week, and they kind of had to squeak out that win against Shador. Basically, luckily, he had a guy who never practiced, isn't even allowed to practice going up against him. I think Tyrod can keep this if Garrett Wilson's back, which I don't think he is. I just don't see how the Jets can kind of keep up. They just don't have the dogs, no matter what. You got Derrick Henry. I think they cover it. I just think the Jets, unfortunately, have absolutely nobody. If they don't have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall can't get going against Ravens D that's getting better and better, I just don't see how they can get the point. So I'm going to go 27-7. For the Ravens to win.
It's one of these things, I feel that when you have a quarterback that's coming in when Fields has lost favor with all the other guys, that sometimes Tyrod Taylor has this ability to motivate guys. It's like, all right, I'm coming in, let's do this. Now, I don't see them winning this game, but I also see that maybe Baltimore is overlooking them. And I could see the Jets covering. I'd never like these 13.5-point spreads, particularly when you've got a 5-5 team. So I've got the Jets to cover this one. I've got a 24-8 or 24-16. I've got an 8 points in this one. I can't at this stage give almost 2 touchdowns to a team that is just up and down. It doesn't seem, and the weather is going to be like that. And to your point, Lamar has not looked good. So we're going to rely on Huntley to come get this done. Once they get the win, they're just going to coast. So
I
yeah,
keep waiting for Lamar to go nuclear. I'm like every week. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
this is the week Lamar's going to go nuclear. This is the week where he gets his 5 touchdowns. He's running. He looks like he's back in December for the playoffs. But I think the Jets. Yeah, I think you're right. I just think the Jets just stink. They just
No,
stink.
they do. But they've got, for me, it's Tyrod. There's going to be a lot of guys that show up, and there's a lot of guys that are going to play to look and go, you know what? We've gotten rid of a lot of guys on the team. You've gotten rid of Quinnen Williams. You've gotten rid of some of the defense. So a lot of guys, it's your time to step up. If not, to make the first team to get traded to a better team. Let's head into another team. The Giants are 2-9. They're swirling around the bowl of first draft pick, depending on the Titans. Detroit struggling after that loss to the Eagles last week. They're 6-4, but they're also 10.5-point favorites. 50 points over under. They're at home. Jared Goff obviously showed his skills last week in the outdoor weather, which he doesn't like. He's back home in the dome. But the New York Giants, they got Jackson Dart. Looks like he's trending towards playing in this one. Jameis was able to rally him this week, but Jackson Dart might add a little bit more mobility to this situation. What do you think of Detroit at home? 50 points, 10.5. Yeah.
I like it when Jameis played. I saw him. He did a great interview where he said, "What is it? Pressure is for the unprepared." Is what he said when someone asked him if he feels pressure. He goes, "I feel no pressure." He's just so great. Pressure is for the unprepared. That's a great line.
He's a soundbite. He's going to make it as a pundit, I think, afterwards.
I think he'll be a great pundit. To be honest with you, bring a little fun to the. That's what they need. They need to stop getting these guys who take themselves so serious. He's full of joy too,
which everyone likes. He's full of joy.
Yeah, he's great.
That's what you like.
I want him to succeed. I want him to be the Bills' backup quarterback one day. At least, I think he should
when he's 50.
Should mandate him that Jameis has to play on every team for a year. Kind of like Matt Collins. Every team should have Matt Collins on their team because Matt Collins is really fun to have on your team. But yeah, I just think Detroit coming off a bad loss where they couldn't get the offense going is bad news, especially when they're at home. They're kind of a completely different team. I think I saw somewhere, maybe I was dreaming, I don't even know, but I think I saw Sam Laporta might be out for the year now, potentially. I don't know
that's what they're saying. I think so. Yeah, they're saying he's out for the year.
Injured. Check. Yeah. But if he's out, that's a big loss for the Lions. I think but problem is you're playing against, Jameis is going to be able to put turnovers with the noise. Even if Jackson Dart plays, I think it's a hard atmosphere to go into, that loud dome. And, especially when you got Jahmyr Gibbs and everything like that. So to me, I think the Lions they kind of need this. This is like desperation time, especially in the division. Bears are ahead of them. Packers are ahead of them. They're not even in the playoffs, I don't think. Yeah. I think they're kind of on the outside looking in. So to me, this is a game, he's getting a back procedure and unlikely to return this year, Sam Laporta. So that's a big loss for fantasy-wise and everything. To me, I think they got to get right. They got to get the offense clicking, especially the running game, which just kind of seems like it's been a bit lost, especially from last year. Where's Montgomery? He hasn't kind of been as dominant this year as he's been in the past. So I want to see them kind of come out. I'm going to go 30-20 Lions win. I just think, I hope Jameis plays. I want to see one more Jameis game.
Yeah, and I think this is a game, to your point, that it's at home. Maybe Eminem will be there to give them the rally monkey that they need, but this is the game that I think, as to your point, Jahmyr Gibbs needs to have a big game. Jamison Williams has been having a pretty good season. This will be a good game to connect. I can see Detroit putting up some points, and I think that Dart, depending if he plays, and if it is Jameis, then he'll be lucky to throw a couple red zone touchdowns. Interceptions. So I've got Detroit to win it 30-18 in this one. I think that they cover the 10.5-point spread. I just don't know if New York has that motivation left, and so many injured players in this one. Heading into the NFC East, leading New England Patriots, who are 9-2, going to visit Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow is trending towards playing in this game. 3-7 as the Bengals. 50.5 is the over/under. Trevion is having a hell of a game for them. He's sort of distinguished himself as the best running back for the Patriots. Patriots could be putting up a lot of points in this one. Cincinnati, will they find their rally monkey in this? Cincinnati at home, 50.5. As they say, Burrow looks like he might. He was practicing. They're looking like they want to have him in this game. How do you like the Bengals at home against the New England team? There's literally focusing across defense and offense. They're really firing here. So do the Bengals have a chance?
Well, they have. Again, the Pats have had a week extra to prepare, so they've been prepared for this game. Again, but they probably, the first week, were preparing for Flacco. Probably didn't think that Burrow was coming back. The problem is that Jamar Chase is suspended for the game. Yeah. So And to lose someone like that, and again, I think if Chase was playing and Burrow was in, I would take the Bengals. I would be like,
Yeah.
the energy will be there. Just pick the team up. Everyone will be amped to kind of want to like play hard for this guy's back. So, but I think the Pats are going to win. I just think the fact that the Buffalo lost, they see themselves now get that one more win, especially against a tough Bengals team that can put up points when they want. And I just think again, I think Vrabel will have them prepared. I've conceded in my mind the division already, so I feel nothing talking about this. So
Yeah.
I just think the Pats are a better team, and even healthy, even with Jamar Chase, they're a better team. No Chase, just going to be too much, and I think again they have the corners in Christian Gonzalez who can take out Higgins, and Joe Burrow's kind of stuck again, not really having that many weapons to throw to. I just think the Pats are a better team. I'm going to go 27-24. I think it's going to be very close, though.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, as you say, they had some time off, and they don't have to play till Monday night next week against the Giants. So the schedule is looking really good for the Patriots right now. And, you got to feel bad for the Patriots because, when's the last time they really had a winning season? So you got to feel bad that they're dynasty.
Those lovable guys.
Yeah, it's just like you feel bad for all these kids that have never really experienced the Patriots winning. So, yeah, I like the Patriots to win this one. I think I can see them really putting it because that Cincinnati defense is absolutely dog shite. I've got it 34-18. I think they're the number one scoring team this week. They're just going to pour it on because Vrabel's going to find all those holes in the defense, and I can see them putting up a big margin of victory first and leaving the Bengals left to Chase. And Chase, of course, being gone. Let's head into another game. Seattle is 7-3. And they're 13-point favorites going into Tennessee, where the Tennessee is 1-9. Everything falling apart for this Titans team. Again, 40 points only in the over-under in this one. So Vegas is not anticipating a big score in this game. How do you like Seattle or even the Titans' chances against a Seattle team where Jackson Smith and Jigba is really sort of showing himself as probably one of the top receivers in the league?
Yeah, Vegas can't put the line high enough. It doesn't matter what they put it at. He seems to hit it. I think it's over like 100 now. Yeah, I see this as a beatdown. I think Seattle, especially coming off that tough loss, Darnold throwing 4 picks last week. Yeah. I think this is the perfect kind of turnaround game for you. Be able to go against kind of a terrible Titans team and you can just feast. I think this is going to be kind of over by halftime. I see kind of Darnold probably being rested in the fourth quarter and Smith and Jigba 2 touchdowns. I just don't think there's any way. The only thing is the Titans are at home, and I don't even think that benefits anyone. Yeah. But the fact that maybe they can take more pride in that they did better than Buffalo did offensively against Houston. So maybe they'll be able to find something. But no weapons against one of the best teams in the league who came off a bad loss, who's still in a tight division. I'm going Seahawks 30-7. Just a beat down.
Yeah, I've got it 31-10 in this one. I mean, the only thing going for the Titans is there's a chance when they open their new stadium that they might get a Super Bowl there. So I think that's a very exciting thing because that stadium that they're about to open looks very nice. But they're just going to take another loss in this one, sully the stadium with losses. But as to your point, I can see Seattle covering this one and playing angry football after, the Rams gave them a bit of a slap around. It's like, so you want to play top-level football? Here's what you're going to get. That Rams defense was really tough, and the Tennessee Titans defense is not. Another battle of the NFC North as we head in where Minnesota are 4-6. And they're finding lots of ways to struggle as Green Bay is 6-3-1. Green Bay just eking out a win against the New York Giants last week. They seem to lose against really bad teams. Green Bay 6.5-point favorites in this one. 41 points is the over-under. As we've said, Green Bay has lost quite a few guys to injury in terms of their offense. Defense is still okay, but Minnesota kind of playing reckless football at this point. Green Bay at home in Lambeau. How do you like Minnesota's chances?
I mean, I would never bet on J.J. McCarthy this year. It feels wrong. It feels like you can't put your faith in him, even though he did kind of come back last week. But I think the Packers, again, even their win against the Giants, it looked difficult at times. They were struggling to kind of put them away, and that's the kind of thing about the Vikings. Their defense can at least hang around if your offense isn't working. So the problem is, I think this is a game where Micah Parsons could feast on someone like J.J. McCarthy. I think going on the road in Green Bay is a tough place to win for any quarterback, especially one who's thrown a lot of interceptions lately. So I think betting the J.J. McCarthy interception is almost the safest bet in football right now because it's happening quite regularly. I just think they're not going to be able to. They have all the pieces around to be a great team except the most important one. And the Packers need this more. I think the Vikings are just kind of in a bad place with JJ McCarthy, and I'm gonna go with the Packers to win.
These two face each other in early part of September. It was the Vikings that came out on top, and it was thanks to Flores, as you say, throwing a lot of mixes around that Jordan Love wasn't ready for. While the offense might suck, the defense is all right, and I think if they can get the running game going for the Vikings, they've got a chance here. It's going to be Josh Jacobs against Aaron Jones against his former team. I think there may be a bit of spite there. I've got Minnesota to win this one, and it's not because I hate the Packers. But I've got 24-21. The Vikings get it because, it's your point. They did struggle, and Jordan Love is still trying to find it, and I think Flores is going to capitalize on that. And again, the Vikings, this is a thing that if you can drop the Packers to 6-4-1, and you go up to 5-6, there's still a shot for you in the bottom, maybe in the NFC. The final game of the 1:00 slate is a doozy, as the Indianapolis Colts are 8-2, and they're heading into Kansas City Chiefs 5-5. Everyone's saying the Chiefs are going to win it all. Still, Chiefs 3.5-point favorites in this one. Jonathan Taylor, what kind of disrespect is this for the Colts? Are the Chiefs right to be favored at home in a 50.5 over/under? Or are the Chiefs really just going to roll in this one?
It's a tricky one. This is a really tough one. I think I'm going to take the Chiefs because I just cannot live in a world. I do believe I live in a world where the Chiefs are 5-6 and just like in a really bad spot for the playoffs. I think this is as must-win as a playoff game as the Chiefs have had in a long time in the regular season. They've never had a regular season game with this much kind of importance. So to me, the real question, they're going to just say Daniel Jones beat us. I think you have to just take out Jonathan Taylor because what he's been doing across the league has just been terrorizing teams. And I think the fact that it's at home, you can get Daniel Jones to make mistakes. You have a good enough secondary, and you got Spags who can kind of mix it up and make it kind of tough. We saw Daniel Jones have one of his worst games, I think, in Pittsburgh on the road a couple weeks ago, where he was just terrible. Just kind of had one of his worst games of the season. So I kind of see something like that. I think the Chiefs kind of take care of business. Offense staggered against a really good, Broncos team. If they want to be in this playoff race, I mean, if Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs, I hope the Chiefs don't too. It'll be kind of fun. Bunch of losers on the outside. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win. I just think they need it. They have to do this. So I'm going to go 28-23. The Chiefs.
I always find that adage that if you really have to win, you won't. And I kind of feel that in this game, in that the Chiefs, there are some injuries across it, but the fact is the Colts are all healthy. They've got everyone back, it seems like now, all in a healthy way. And if they can lean on Warren to take the pressure off of Jonathan Taylor and just use Daniel Jones to do a few checkouts, just to spread that ball around. I like the Colts. I really do. And because I feel that there is this onus on the Chiefs. We have to win. We have to win. Everyone knows going in to Arrowhead, it is a very tough, especially going in late November. But I like the Colts in this one. I think they're prepared. I think they know if we want to win the AFC, if we really want to go to the playoffs, we have to beat teams like the Chiefs. So I've got them to win 26-23. Heading into the 4:00 slates or 9:00 in the UK, if you like to stay up that late. UK's favorite team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, are 6-4, and they're 2.5-point favorites. Heading into Arizona. Arizona struggling as well with Jacoby Brissett coming off a big game. They're 3-7. By Jacksonville favored by 2.5 and a 47.5-point over/under. Arizona has had some injuries across the board as well. Jacksonville getting high off this, but they're on the road now, and it's a little different story on the road. What do you think about Arizona at home, or do you think Jacksonville can just roll over this team?
I mean, I can't believe I'm going to pick the Jags 2 weeks in a row. Trevor Lawrence. I think there was a big win for them last week. The problem with the Jags has been forever is consistency of having back-to-back really good games, and they do it again. And I just think you're going against Jacoby Brissett again. Does look good. He looked great last week. 47 completions. I don't anticipate that. Anything like that happening like this. And I think the Jags are just going to look at the situation where they're holding on to that last playoff spot. You got, you're tied with the Bills and the Chargers, and you got the Ravens and the Chiefs right behind you. Like any loss, you can go from 5th to 9th with a bad loss, and you got to take down teams with a backup quarterback, with Marvin Harrison Jr. out, with absolutely no real running game because they've lost all their running backs to injuries. To me, this is Jaguars shows that what Trevor Lawrence are you going to be? Are you going to be the one that always blows it when the lights are the brightest. But to me, this is a must win for the Jags. They got to take care of business. I'm going to go 24-20 for Jags win.
I really like Arizona at home. They seem to be in close a few times, and I think that you put up that amount of points, and this is a hometown game for them. I think the Jags are going to be looking through them. I think Trey McBride is just going to absolutely feast on them because they have struggled against tight ends. So I got Arizona to win this one, 30-24. I think a lot of points are going to be scored in this one. But I like Arizona. They're going to find holes in Jacksonville's defense, and I like the Cardinals to win. Hey, it's the Loser Bowl. This game should be played in London. It's Cleveland, 2-8, heading into Vegas, 2-8. And
Oof.
Geno Smith got to be hoping for a win. Shedeur Sanders is making the start. I remember those. Everyone wanted to tank for Sanders. That used to be the big thing in Vegas.
Yeah.
Now they have him. He's going to have to be prepared. He's not being thrown in, but Vegas are 4-point favorites in this one. He does like to hang on to the ball like a lot of rookies do. 36 points is the over-under in this one. Vegas is saying not a lot of points being scored here. Geno Smith, the veteran, against the new kid, Shedeur Sanders. Who do you like?
I am stunned that the Raiders are 4-point favorites against anyone in the NFL. This should be a pick'em, a 0.5, a absolute pick'em. I'm going with the Browns. I think the Browns, just because of their defense, I think that defense, look what it did to Baltimore. Look what it did to the Ravens last week. You think it's going to be afraid of Geno? And this offense, I think Shedeur has to be better than Dylan Gabriel. I mean, from watching the weeks of Dylan Gabriel, there's no way against the Raiders D, which is also terrible. Max Crosby will probably have like 5 sacks, I think. So it'll be kind of fun. And Myles Garrett is absolutely destroyed. He's got like 15 sacks already. He's on pace to break the NFL record. He is going to feast going against this terrible Raiders offense that got almost no rushing yards last week against the Cowboys. So how do you think Genty's going to do against the Browns? To me, I think the Browns whoop them, to be honest. I think the Raiders are terrible. I think the Raiders are the worst team, one of the worst teams in football. So I'm going to go 21-10 for the Browns.
Wow. I've got Cleveland to cover. I got Vegas to win. I got it 13-10. This to me is like a baseball score. I don't see a lot of points going. That Cleveland defense is going to slow down Genty. As someone who's got Brock Bowers on his fantasy, I kind of hope for a little points in here. But again, is that all he's going to lean on? How are they going to got this ball spread around as well, especially when you got rid of Jacoby Myers and who's going to really have the ball? This game should be played on the Weather Network because it's just no one really cares and you're just going to flick through it. So 13-10. Cleveland gets the cover, but Vegas gets the win. It's another stinker game as we head to the AFC South, where the Falcons continue to disappoint. It looks like Kirk Cousins will be starting since Pennick has been benched indefinitely.
No,
it looks like
he's out. He's injured.
He's injured. Of course he is. 3-7. Atlanta going into New Orleans. We're slow and Kellen Moore are trying to get some wins together at home. They're 2-8 and they're 1.5-point favorites with a 39.5-point over under. Saints favorite at home. Is this and I think Drake London's out as well. There's a few injuries.
So.
It's for the Falcons in this one. Is this New Orleans in a good spot here as the favorites?
I mean, a good spot. I don't think there's a good spot for New Orleans anywhere. I mean, I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know what Kirk Cousins is going to show up. I don't think he has that kind of comeback in him that he's going to turn it around. I'm going to go with the Saints. I've been picking the Falcons lately, and they've been just absolutely blowing every game. I just think the fact that the Saints are at home, maybe, and the Falcons are kind of demoralized after losing Penix, all the injuries. I think they're just going to say shut down Bijan and kind of let Cousins, who looked old last year, look old again. I think it's going to be. I'm going to go 17-14. Saints win. Terrible game. Unwatchable.
Yeah, I got a 23-16 for the Saints. I think this could be a good game for Alvin Kamara. And then you look to, with the Saints in terms of wide receivers, you got rid of Shaheed. So basically it's going to be Olave. So I could see him finding some big gaps in that Falcons porous defense. So yeah, I've got it 23-16. Olave with over 100 yards and the Saints win this one. Falcons will then drop to 3-8. There were some good games in the 4 o'clock slate last week, and this week there just seems to be absolutely dog crap.
Yeah.
Let's head into a game that's an NFC North battle as Philadelphia, the Super Bowl reigning champions, are 8-2. Only 3.5-point favorites over a Dallas team who was 3-5-1.
East.
NFC East, sorry. What did I say? North?
North, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's my home.
I was looking at my schedule. I was like, what game?
No, NFC North. NFC East, sorry. Philadelphia 8-2, Dallas 3-5-1. 47.5 points is the over-under. A lot of people thought that maybe there'd be a bigger point spread in this one, but the Eagles, that their defense getting a lot of the work done. Dallas has this explosive offense. How do you think that's going to go? I mean, you heard about Pickens and Lamb missing the bus in Vegas, and they got fined for that one and benched. So how do you feel about Dallas at home hosting the Eagles?
I'm going to take the Cowboys. I just think the Eagles' offense just is lost right now. And I think the Cowboys, even though the Eagles' defense just doesn't seem to matter, even Detroit, any high-powered offense, they've been able to kind of shut them down. I just think, again, there's just something not brewing right with the Eagles in that passing game. And if they could do anything to just kind of, the fact that, again, Pickens looks unbelievable this year. One of the best trades. I wish the Bills traded a third-round pick for George Pickens this year. That would have been great. He's going to make, shitload on the open market or even with the Cowboys. But to me, I just think they can score. They can put up points. And the Eagles, the one thing they haven't been able to do is score points. You can argue that the Lions struggle. The Lions haven't been as dominant as the years past. It's not the same Lions. No one fears this offense like they did in the past. But the Cowboys, Dak, again, it was the Raiders last week, but 4 touchdowns. He can have those types of games. The fact that they're at home, I just think a sneaky little upset. The Eagles have had a lot of really close, ugly wins where no one's happy and they're fighting and AJ Brown's miserable. So I'm going to go with the little Cowboys upset. I'm going to go 26-23 for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I got the Cowboys to cover, but Philly to win. It's one of those things, to your point, that Philadelphia gets these squeaky wins at the end, and it's just, I can't really trust the Dallas Cowboys. They both seem to have a lot of infighting on both their teams. Quinnen Williams has looked good for Dallas at least, and maybe sort of absorb sort of that blow of the Micah Parsons trade. But I just find Philadelphia can get the job done when it really needs to get done. They can all rally around it. I got it 26-24. Dallas covers, but the Eagles win. Heading into our Sunday night game, where there was rumors that a virus was going through the Tampa Bay Buccaneers locker room. Everyone was sick and puking and shitting. They're 6-4, but they're heading into the Rams, who are 8-2. Rams really showed, what they can do in the NFC last week with a demonstrative win against the Seahawks. 6.5-point favorites in this one. Obviously, Baker and company taking that stinging loss against the Bills. How do you like their chances going into an LA team that seems to be firing across the board?
Yeah, I don't like it. I think the Bucs are just in a bad spot with injuries. Just too many injuries. Now they're having some weird thing with Bucky Irving. Something going on with him where we don't know if we're going to see him coming back anytime soon. Again, the fact that, Chris Godwin just can't be trusted. And Baker kind of is just playing banged up. He's getting hit a lot. He's having to run, for 40 yards a game, which is just not something you want Baker Mayfield to be doing. And I think, on the other side, they gave up 40 points to the Bills, who can barely move the ball against anybody else. So to me, and now you're going up against Sean McVay and Matt Stafford and Puka and all that. Double-headed monster. They can run it, they can pass it, they can do everything. So great defense. I think the Rams just kind of take it. I think they're the better team. I think the Bucs keep it somewhat close, but I'm going to go 30-27. I think it will be a close game. The Rams win.
I got it 30-18. I don't know if they can keep it up. And this rumors of the virus going through, I don't know. If other teams have it, if it was just something that was happening with Tampa Bay, if it was a stomach bug or whatever. But to your point, they're just too banged up. The Rams are feeling it now. They are knocking off all the top contenders in the NFC, and I think this is another one, 30-18. We're heading into our Monday night game, and it's a coming home. Well, it's a facing his old team for Christian McCaffrey as the Carolina Panthers are 6-5. They got a winning record, but they're heading into a San Francisco team that's 7-4. San Francisco is getting a lot of their guys back, with a lot of guys back from injury. San Francisco 7-point favorites in a 49-point over/under. McCaffrey going to face his old Panthers. Motivation here, will this just be the CMAC game all over the world? Can Carolina and Bryce Young slow him down? Do they have anything that they can do to stop these 49ers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if McCaffrey doesn't need a revenge to have a good game. He's been having good games all year. I see, yeah. I think they're going to want him to score. I don't know is this the first time they played each other since he's been traded? Maybe.
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I imagine, again, I think Shanahan's kind of petty like that. I think I think the Panthers, after 450 yards, it's going to be that. What is the next game that Bryce Young does? Is it going to be like 80 yards? What are we
Yeah.
going to see? The consist. I want to see him go out and throw for 300 again, and be like, wait a minute, can this guy actually do this? Ted McMillan had his best game of the year last year, so they're going to want to kind of keep that going. I think this can be a lot closer. I think the Panthers have a sneaky, decent offense. Rico Dowdle, and if Bryce Young could just get any sort of stack any sort of games on top of each other, I think this could be one of them. But I'm going to take the Niners to win. But I think it's a bit closer than we think. So I'm going to go 20-23.
I can't. I can just see Christian McCaffrey just running all over them. The interesting thing about Brandon Ayuk, though, I think for the 49ers, and it seems like the rumors of just getting rid of him, of whatever they're going to do with his contract with him, it was a bad investment. And so there's a bit of that toxicity in the locker room, and maybe saying, pal, you're out. Maybe that's going to help the locker room. I don't know. But the 49ers know how difficult this division is, know how difficult their conference is, and that they need to really start getting some wins so that they're not, that they can get over 10 wins. So I like them to win quite a bit here. I've got it 33-16. That is it for our Week 12 picks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week to be able to talk about what we've learned here, as well as talk about all the Thanksgiving games that are coming up. And check out our socials. We'll have some stuff of weird things you can do in London to enjoy Thanksgiving. Thanks a lot for listening, folks, and enjoy Week 12.